Namaste, lovelies, and welcome to Tahlya the Truth. Today, I feel like I have been called to shed some light on some shadows of the feminine side of humanity. Now, before I start, it is not my intention to trigger anybody, even though some might be triggered. And also I wanted to let everybody know that we have some feminine qualities in each of us, even if we're masculine. And even if you're feminine, we have some masculine qualities within us as well. And so we need to bring these in balance, is essentially what needs to happen. I want to start off with the fall of the feminine, which I believe started with the Crusades and the church rising to power. Now, with the church rising to power and the Crusades, a lot of older traditions, unfortunately, were trampled under the foot of the Inquisitions and of the Crusades. And in these old traditions, there were a lot of wise women, a lot of sages, what we would call crones. And with these wise women and all of these tribal cultures, they had wisdom, and wisdom that they passed down from word of mouth, from generation to generation. And as patriarchy rose into power, these traditions fell away, and the rightness of the way to live started. The Crusades decided that the earth was something that needed to be conquered, and thus, instead of sharing with the earth, as the tribal communities had been doing, as maybe what we would call the barbaric people were doing, they were participating in the way of life. They were giving and receiving, and there was a balance and a ebb and flow to the world. And when these energies of conquering came in, the world was made to be seen as an enemy itself to be conquered. This is not our true nature. This is not how we are supposed to live and develop and evolve. Yes, these new cultures have risen to new technologies and new heights of understanding and learning, but they have also held down divine wisdom, and we have too much going on in our brains and not enough access to our hearts anymore. Our cultures have taught us through the years and generations that intellect is more important than the heart. Now, the heart in and of itself has its own wisdom, and we can find this when we become still with ourselves and allow our heart to guide us. So, in the fall of the feminine, these patriarchal energies, they put God outside of ourselves as something that we needed to reach through a priest or a minister, and something that we couldn't necessarily connect to on our own. And everybody that tried to connect with a divine source of connection without a priest or without somebody appointed by the church or the patriarchy would be a heretic, would be looked at as insane, and a lot of these people were women. And through these eras, which I believe started in, 1000 AD up until, the 1700s, really, there were witch trials where there were herbalists and sage women, medicine women, and all of these beautiful beings that started becoming shamed because of their wisdom and their knowledge. The patriarchy feared the wisdom and knowledge of these wise women. And unfortunately, a lot of knowledge was lost to us. And in place, there were torture and there was shame put onto women and guilt. And with the Bible came the first sinner, who was Eve. Mary Magdalene was labeled a prostitute. All of these different beliefs within our culture rose up as women became lesser and men became the leaders. And in my belief, I do believe that men are supposed to lead, but there also needs to be that balance. And if we do not have that balance, then the world does not have that balance. And if the world does not have that balance, then we will surely fall, all of us. We need to come back into balance. And I do believe that accessing the divine feminine within each of us is the way and the key into a new age of unity and love and truth and freedom and connection for all of us. So in my notes, it was a lot of the patriarchy, a lot of the Roman Empire that decided to conquer the land. The land was not to be shared, it was to be conquered. And power was gained by control and fear. And so women decided to make themselves small, and with all of the stoning and all of the torture and all of the public shaming, we had to be able to survive. And so we decided to make ourselves small. And it's lasted so long, this time period of shame and guilt, that it is actually encoded into our genetic codes and into our energetic printing. So in order for us to take back some level of control as women, we had to suppress these feelings of shame and guilt. It was too large of a burden for us to bear. And so we were taught that these feelings are not okay. We suppressed them, but we must realize that this is not actually the divine feminine's true nature. But in our history, we suppressed them, and so acting subconsciously through the years, women have had to find other ways of being able to feel less powerless. And unfortunately, what has happened is women have become able to feel power mainly from conscious or unconscious manipulation. It is time now to start being aware of the manipulation tactics that as women, many of us, have decided to take on. These things are passive aggressiveness, by utilizing shame and guilt. They are playing the victim to get what we want. I've also seen in this culture, especially with capitalism and business, I've seen a lot of women in companies take on a more masculine role and deny their feminine side and suppress just the feminine side and try and be as masculine as possible. This is not in balance with what we need. Also, mothers, because mothers are in control of the children. A lot of these mothers decided that they couldn't control the men that were already men, but they could control the boys. And unfortunately, with the fall of the feminine, there was also a fall of the masculine. And the women started raising boys to depend on the women more, the mothers more. And the men could never emotionally fully grow into their divine masculine, and the boys remained boys. Also, I've seen division among females instead of unity. There was a rise in competition between females of who can get the most power or the most attention for the males. And all of this, all of these different tactics and manipulations are because of a sense of feeling unworthy within ourselves. We need to be able to understand this, understand what tactics we're using, to see them, to heal them, and then start a ripple effect over the feminine to come back into coherence with our divine nature. Now, when I say divine feminine, there are so many different beautiful qualities. There is the maiden, there is the mother, there is the crone, there's the wise woman. The divine feminine embodies grace. The divine feminine embodies receptivity. It is our yin energy. It is gentle. It is the nurturer. We hold creation energy within our womb. We're very powerful. We hold beauty. We are giving. And there is a very powerful sisterhood that needs to be ignited within all of us so that we can be in unity together instead of divided. So we need to understand that these feelings of shame and guilt stem from the genetic coding of past life trauma or genetic trauma from our lineage that we must now heal in order to be able to step into balance with our energy, to step into balance with our divine feminine. Because once we heal our divine feminine, then we will also be able to show the masculine side, how to heal into and grow into the divine masculine. So we can no longer suppress these emotions. It has been too long. We must be able to grieve. Take some time. Be gentle with yourself. But it is time. And not only will we come into coherence with ourselves and our actual nature, our beautiful divine feminine nature, but there is a heart coherence, an electromagnetic field that we have, that we can emanate to our great Mother Gaia, our earth, that is not an enemy, but is part of who we are, part of this entire life field, this entire evolution. Gaia wants to be able to support us, and we have decided to look at it in humanity. We have decided to look at it as an enemy. We cannot anymore. She was never an enemy. She has been very unconditionally loving. So, if we are to heal humanity, we must start by seeing and healing our broken parts. If you need to write down, if you need to take some time and meditate, I would totally appreciate if all of us did this and really become introspective, because we can't heal others until we understand and heal those parts of ourselves that have been broken. We have to lead by example and show through unity that we can become the change. And yes, there's so many people that say, be the change that you want to see in the world. Well, I am telling you right now, we really need to be the change that we want to see in the world if we are to survive. We need to come back to unity. We need to understand that we are killing our earth. We need to understand that this type of culture and this type of life is unsustainable. We need to go back to the way of being sustainable. No more zombies, no more opioids, no more dependence, addictive behaviors. We need to see our shadows. Bring your light in your heart to the shadow aspects of yourselves. They are yearning for love. They are yearning to be hugged. Your inner child is yearning to be hugged and loved and taken care of. And only then, when you see these shadows, can you take your power back. The divine feminine must rise in order for this age to be successful. I totally, completely believe this, and we must be in unity, not only with ourselves and humanity, but with the earth. It is time. So, I want you to think about some of these questions. Do you use manipulation to feel in control? And if so, what type of manipulation? I want you to write this down. Do you use manipulation to feel better about yourself? Do you? And if so, what part of you feels unworthy? What part of you feels small? What part of you needs love? Do you feel jealous? Envious? If so, what are the qualities that you want that others have? Because you can have them. You don't need to be jealous or competitive with others. They're within you. If you want them, there's a reason, and you can manifest them. Think on these questions. So, in closing, I would really, really like if you could connect to your own divine feminine. I want you to do some research. What goddesses in ancient folklore call to you? Would it be Venus or Aphrodite, Lakshmi, the great Mother Gaia, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Pele, Tara, Kuan Yin, Oya, Yamana, Freya, Isis? I want you to be able to connect with your own personal goddess. All of these different goddesses have different types of energy. And if you resonate, if you feel a strong connection, I urge you to go do some research about that goddess and then meditate on the energy of that goddess. Come into connection with that. Open your heart. It is time. It is time. So many blessings on your journey. I hope that this video helped. And if you are triggered, triggering means unpleasant thoughts or unpleasant emotions that arise abruptly, then I want you to search that out as well. It is hard to change, I understand, but it is time. We can no longer live like this. Come back to your heart. come back to life, come back to truly living. This is our divine evolution. This is what we need to do. So many blessings to you. Namaste, lovelies.